Hey y'all, and welcome to a special episode of my Making podcast. My name is Marlene and I'm a maker, specifically a knitter, sewist and spinner from Germany. And I thought I'd share my warm weather knitting plans with you today. I don't really have any super specific sewing plans, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail there. It's just like two pans that I really want to make. One of them I've made before. And I just want to do a different view, and then another one I've had on my list and in my dreams for a long time, which I'm going to sew along with one of my good friends. So yeah, I don't have any specific plans in sewing right now. It is not my main hobby. I don't have the best equipment, so I'm just going to go into a bit more detail on the knitting. I have 3 concrete warm weather plans. This is more so summer knitting, but I'm going to begin to knit on those projects in the spring, so I'll be able to wear them come summer. I'm actually wearing one of my t-shirts. My plans will actually encompass 2 knits I've done before and then 1 new pattern. That is also something that I felt was really valuable, like added to the whole conversation about summer knitting, since I feel like I don't get as much warm weather knits done in a year than I do more so like sweaters and cardigans and like a lot of the actual wool knitting for the colder months. And so I thought that if you only have a few spots in your plan, which you all know I love to plan, might as well make it worth it. And so 2 pieces that I've knit before, I am going to knit again because of different reasons I'm going to tell you. I'm also going to mention a few honorable mentions, knits that I kind of see myself knitting in the future, but I don't really think I'll have time for them this year. I will link my warm weather knits bundle down below so you can have a look at all the things I like the look of, but obviously can't knit all of them. So yeah, let's get into my 3 concrete plans. Then I'm going to mention my honorable mentions later on. So let's actually start with what I'm wearing. This is my Feels Right tee by Lily Kate France, also known as Lily Kate Makes. I made size 3 and I used a yarn by Pasquale. This was my first experience knitting with Saphira, and as far as my notes and ravelry goes, this is a merino silk mix. The yarn is actually the reason why I'm re-knitting this piece. It does feel lovely. It is not entirely my color. It is a bit of it's an okay color on me, I would say, but it's not my favorite color to begin with. And so I wanted another piece in a bit of a richer tone. And then the second reason is this yarn pills pretty badly, first of all, and this is only hand wash because it's merino silk. So I wanted another version of this because it sits beautifully. I've made size 3. I did have a bit of a shorter row gauge on this one, and I did the size 4 sleeves. I just made that decision. I took my measurements, and from that standpoint I decided that 3 was great for my chest area and 4 was great for my arms. Okay, I hit gauge. There's 26 stitches, and I made it just a smidge shorter. I love that there is decreases in the body, so it's like a perfect baby tee. I honestly love this tee so much, but like I said, it does pill a lot. The yarn, it feels lovely, but it pills like crazy, which is a shame. Yeah, but what can you do? I think it would probably be more suited for like a little shawlette, or maybe held with a silk mohair. It wouldn't pill as much, but because this is quite tight and then my arms rub against it, or I might have like a cardigan over, like wear a cardigan over it, it has had some pilling. I've actually shaved it, but so you might not be able to see. Yeah, so those are the reasons why I really would like to remake this pattern, and I did decide to re-knit it in one of the suggested yarns. I spoke to Lily about this briefly, just wanting to see how her yarn held up. As you might know, I really enjoy knitting with natural fibers, but in this case, my end goal with this piece was to be able to wear it either on a hike, on holiday in Italy, or on a really hot day at the shop, just in general life, but maybe also style it to make it a bit more, I don't know, chic looking with like a lovely, I don't know, skirt. I don't really wear skirts, so this is a bit of a far stretch, but like I had a vision of it, and I was really looking for a yarn that I was able to put in the washing machine and then just be done with. Because like summer knits, you sweat in them, and then wool is just, I mean, for now, spring, this is a lovely piece to wear, but then the pilling comes in. So I did decide, like, I'm not talking around the bush anymore. I did decide on the Yarn Art Baby Cotton, which is one of the yarns that Lily recommends for this pattern. This is a 50% acrylic and 50% cotton yarn. So this is the lovely chocolate color that I have decided on. I was torn between this one and there is like a Bordeaux red that I also really liked, and a few other colors that really spoke to me. So if this is a great experience, I could see myself going back and ordering some more. I got this from a German online yarn shop that sells yarn that I'm kind of not usually into, but they also got this and I paid like 15 bucks for it, including shipping. So this was really inexpensive. I got 4 balls of this, which makes for around 660 meters. And for my last version, for this version I'm wearing right now, I use 636 meters. So I have a bit of a buffer in this yarn and it should work fine. I'm gonna do the exact same thing that I did here because like the fit is just great. I am going to also just cast this on and use my back panel as a gauge swatch, so I don't really need to gauge swatch this. I use the 3.25 millimeter needle and I'm going to do a size 3 with size 4 sleeves again. So this will be my first summer or warm weather knits plan, and then I'll just briefly show you or talk to you about my second re-knit, so the project I'm attempting to do again, which is the plain yoke tee by lene holme samsøe. I did the 22 stitch gauge pattern that time round, which was last year, and I used the Alfama by Husarios Quattro, which is a Portuguese brand, and I used this lovely green color. I'm gonna try and insert some pictures. Like I said, that sample or that tee currently lives at the yarn shop. I'll take it back home whenever it's time to wear t-shirts again, like knitted linen tees. I use size 4 millimeter needles for the body and size 3 for the rolled stockinette edges. So the notes that I took from my last version were actually saying that I did get a bit more positive ease because of the slightly smaller gauge. I had about a 20 to 21 stitch gauge, though the pattern called for 22 stitches. So I did actually say in my notes that I got about a 20 centimeter positive ease rather than the 11 that the pattern called for, the size that I made. I made size large, which I think is the size 4 in the pattern, and I did mention in my notes that I could see myself knitting size 3 next time. So I might just do that. I would like to have something maybe a bit more fitted, still loose but fitted, and I do have enough of this yarn, which I got at the Wedding Wool Weekend last year at the Wollen Berlin store in Berlin. Wow. This is the Lino Muka. This is 100% Lithuanian linen, and I am going to hold this double since this is a light fingering weight. And this is actually quite interesting. They have like a gauge range on the back, held single, held double, held triple, and I'm going with held double but on a bit of a bigger needle. So I hope that I'll be able to reach about a 22, 23 stitch gauge. It says here that you should be able to get a 25 stitch gauge held double, but I'll just adjust the needle accordingly. We'll see how it works. I have about 1,500 meters roundabout, which is what I would need if I were to hold this double. Since I did use 750 meters for my last plain yoke tee. So I'll show you the color in a bit more detail. It's like a beautiful golden brown. Obviously, I'm into these kinds of colors. I think that they really suit me. They make me happy. I see wearing them with like maybe some, I got these checkered red and white or red and cream pomona pants and just a bit of a fun pant, but then a brown top, or like my jeans shorts. I got quite a few linen and jeans warm weather bottoms, and so I think that these tops will really work well. Last year I made this in this color and this one in a green, so I think I'll have quite of a nice neutrals range within my soft to warm autumn palette that I prefer for myself. So yeah, next time I'm gonna make a size 3. As I mentioned, I'm gonna try and make it a bit less loose. I still do like the one that I made there, and I am going to wear that a ton, but I really want to have this one sit a bit more tighter on my own body. So that is plan number 2, another project that I'm re-knitting. My next and third concrete plan is going to be with a lovely cotton yarn that I got on sale at the yarn shop. Both of the other yarns we do not sell at the shop. I have made or knit with quite a few of the yarns that we do sell last year, and this year I, like I said, got this at a festival and really wanted to try it, and got this by recommendation of Lily. And so I still wanted to knit with something that we do sell at the shop, though it is selling out. We have it on sale. We're not going to order it again. This is the Pacucho fingering color grown cotton, organic and fair trade, and this is the colorway Green Sage. Like I said, this is fingering weight. I bought 5 skeins of this. I have 1,000 meter of this, which should be enough for the size 3 that I want to make of the Fleur Tee by Briana Mason, otherwise known as Woolbird. I've never made any of her patterns before, so I'm really intrigued by this. When I came past this pattern, I just immediately fell in love. I love wearing long sleeve pointel shirts underneath cardigans, for example, and the pointel look of this pattern just really struck me, and I really like the look of this pattern. I had initially picked out the Bio Balance by BC Garn for this pattern, but I only got 4 skeins in the sale, and it was just a tiny bit too little. I didn't want to have to play a game of yarn chicken, and I also wanted to be able to wash this just in the washing machine. Which is why I went with a 100% cotton rather than a cotton wool mix. So I did take that back to the shop and I exchanged it. Fortunately, my friend picked up the BioBalance skeins that I had brought back to the shop, so she's gonna make something with that, which is fun, and we might be matching, at least color-wise. This is a really close fit to the yarn I had previously picked out. So this is what it looks like. I think it's a beautiful, like, natural cream color that isn't too warm or cold, and so it does suit me really well, I think. And it'll be hopefully a really staple fit. I feel like this will be really wearable for me, or at least I hope so. And again, this is just such a lovely neutral palette that I feel like will match with so many bottom pieces and so many different outfits. And so yeah, that's what I'm really planning and hoping to do. I really can't wait to skein up or ball up these skeins and then start a swatch. I've actually been experiencing some pain in my arms recently. I've been working on my iPad quite a bit and on my phone, which is just part of my job, but I think I've overdone it a bit. Like 2 weeks ago, I've been editing a lot of pictures on the iPad, and I had a really not so great positioning in my arms. I mean, someone would say that I'm also knitting quite a bit always, so that could attribute to some of the pain, but I've not really changed anything about my knitting, so that has stayed the same over the last couple of years. So I'm attributing the pain that I'm I've had to the like working on the computer more so. I've had this before when I was writing my bachelor thesis and my master's thesis, so I know the kind of pain that I'm getting if I'm like scrolling on a mouse too much and like typing on a device. So unfortunately I've had to slow down my knitting quite a bit. I've actually not knitted for a week, like 3 days, 1 week. Then I did some knitting on the weekend in between, and then I did another like 4 or 5 days of not knitting at all, and it was actually really hard for me because knitting is like my joy in life, or one of my joys in life. And so I've been trying to get back into it really slowly. I've been wearing like a cast. I've been putting on some creams like to help relieve the pain, and I've also been taking it really slow with like being on the iPad and working. Yeah, so let's cross your fingers and mine that it'll get better really fast. Like I said, I know this kind of pain. I know that I do need to take it really slow for it to be and get better. And I've actually talked to quite a few people about this now, and even on my membership and the Discord, we've been talking about it. And it's so nice to know that I'm not the only person experiencing this, and to be able to chat about it and help each other out and give each other some comfort in knowing that we're not the only people struggling with some pain sometimes. So make sure you're sitting up right, you're getting some support for your elbows, can really help. This is something someone mentioned in the Discord, and I've really heard about it quite a few times already. And then make sure to take enough breaks. Sorry, this is like an ad for taking enough breaks in your knitting. I really do highly recommend it, because otherwise this can lead to pain, to the repetitive strain syndrome, or like repetitive strain injury, or which is what I would say that I've been experiencing just a bit, unfortunately. Okay, let's move on to some more honorable mentions, some patterns I could see myself making if I finished all of these plans, or I could maybe even see myself swap in for one of those plans. Let me actually start with that one, and maybe also see myself making in the next couple of years. So the first one is the Salty Air Tea by Samantha Guerin. This is a t-shirt with a lace yoke. It is a fingering pattern knit on a 3.25 and 3.5 needle with a 24 stitch gauge. And it really struck me whenever I saw this first. I've met Samantha before last Rhinebeck, and she was really lovely to chat with. And I just really love the look of a lot of her patterns, and this one is no exception. So I did think about maybe even knitting this pattern with this yarn. I really need to listen to what I'm feeling like whenever I am about to start making with this yarn. I've not decided. I don't own this pattern, so maybe that is a reason for me to go back to the plain yoke tee, because I've already paid for that pattern in the past. Like I said, I'm not sure. I do love the look of this pattern. I do love the projects other people have made. There are so many such like so cute looking patterns, like people who have made this and who look just gorgeous in their versions. So it's more of a question of, do I want a super plain tee, or do I want a tee which isn't super like in your face but has a bit of a twist? So I really love this Salty Air Tee. It's a seamless top down knit, so it'll be almost as easy as the plain yoke tee. It'll just have some like lace patterning in the yoke. So I'll have to decide whether I want to make something really plain or something with a bit of a twist. And like I said, I could see myself making it in the future. I've got 4 more tops. All of them are sleeveless, and a lot of them have something similar to them, which is also why I wouldn't probably make all 4 of them like one after another. But I really like the look of them, and I really like something specific about them, which is, well, I'll just share them with you, and then either you're getting a bit inspired by that, which is always nice, and I can get a bit more clarity when watching back. So the first one is the Margaux top by Gregoria Fibers. A few people whose knitting I always find very inspiring, like my friend Marla, or I think those twins who knit, one of them made this last year as well. I find those versions that I saw really intriguing and nice to look at. I would see myself making this in the Pure Silk by Knitting for Olive held double. And I really love the version that she's rocking here, which is like a very autumnal color, but then a summery knit, which I think is a nice thing. I do see myself, yeah, like I said, holding the Pure Silk double to get that DK weight gauge. That would be a bit of a spendy pattern because the Pure Silk is not cheap. But yeah, I think she has quite a wide size range, which I always appreciate. And this top is knitted on a 2.5 and 3 millimeter needle as far as I can see. This pattern is worked bottom up, but I could see how that makes a lot of sense, because you start in the round and then you split after the sleeves, and then you work front and back, and then you close it up on the shoulders. So that's the Margaux top for you. Next up, we got the Mixed Rib Cami by Florence Müller, which is a sleeveless top with a light fingering gauge of 30 stitches. She suggests the Knitting for Olive merino. I think I'd rather go with the cotton merino for this one, which we also do sell at the shop, so it's quite easy for me to get it. It's like a 3 millimeter needle knit, 2.5 for I think the I cords, and it's a top down pattern. It's really fun because one of my knitting circle friends yesterday, she was knitting on it, and so I was able to see a bit about the progress and how she's making it. A few of the people in the knitting group are actually thinking about making it or currently making it, and so I could see myself making this pattern in the future as well. I think it's really nice. Florence styled it really well. I've heard great things about her patterns, and I've had a great experience knitting her pedal drop socks before. I really like the writing style of that pattern, and I'm also planning on making the step-by-step cardigan in the future. I do have the yarn for it, but as we all know, I have more plans and more yarn that I'm currently able to knit with, and I really like the planning for the future a bit, and getting excited and in anticipation of my upcoming knits. So yeah, the Mixed Rib Cami by Florence Müller is my next kind of honorable mention or a future knit. Next up is Susanne Müller's Sabai top. She's also known as Paula Strickt. The Sabai top, again, has been made so many times. It's like 1,400 projects just on Ravelry. This is another top that I've seen on Rachel and Jessica's podcast, those twins who knit, last year. And I've had it on my radar, but their versions really made me think that it could be something I also wanted to knit. You know, sometimes you know about a pattern and it's more like, all right, like the pattern pictures that the designer takes can be really influential for me, whether like in the decision process of whether I would like to make the pattern. But if a podcaster or like another person in the knitting community online speaks highly of a pattern, or they style it and I feel inspired by that, that is like the cherry on the top of the knitting summer knitting ice cream for me. So I think both of them made some versions. They also said that it was really quick because it's DK weight knit on a 4 millimeter needle. It's like an airy summer top with a boat neckline, which is not usually something I go for. Boat necklines are like not my typical go-to, and yet I have two patterns with a boat neckline, the Margaux top and the Sabai top, that I could really see myself making. It is a seamlessly worked top-down pattern, which is great, but one thing that has stirred me away from this pattern just a bit, which is really unfortunate, is the relatively small size range. It only goes up to 127 centimeter bust, like at most. which I don't think is good enough in some ways, but I also do believe that is a really easy pattern to modify. So if someone were to make this for a bigger chest, I could see that this pattern would be relatively easy to modify. And I do believe in kind of empowering yourself to change stuff about patterns to make it fit your personal body, because like size inclusivity can only go so far. I do believe we should support size inclusive designers more. I think like designers should try to be more size inclusive, but the inclusivity part only goes so far, you know. It's only like the width of the bust that is also taken into consideration a lot of the time, and people's bodies are just so like widely diverse, with kind of ratios of upper arm to chest to upper chest to full chest to lower chest to hip circumference, and all of these different shapes and sizes. I've found in the whole debate, because I know it's a huge topic and I'm totally pro size inclusive patterns, but I also believe, I've had a really interesting conversation about this with some of my co-workers, that empowering yourself to make the changes you need for your own body in a pattern, that's actually what knitting is all about in a way. So if you do have a shorter torso like I do crop a lot of the things. I do knit, sometimes go up in size on my sleeves. So these are just some changes I need to do. And some people have longer torsos, or they have wide hips and a smaller bust, so they need to, or they could think about doing some more A-line shaping. And I do believe that if we have an inclusivity on the width already, the next step is very much in everyone else's hands. So I was really, I don't know if I want to go into too much detail with this, but I was really torn whether I was mentioning this pattern. Anyways, it has so much traffic already, like I don't need to tell you that this pattern is popular. You'll see by the amount of times it has already been worked up. But this is just one of the reasons where I'm like a bit hesitant to knit something that isn't in that regard size inclusive, but then also maybe criticize the size inclusivity concept in a way, because I do believe it can never be truly inclusive, because you can never think all the different issues a person might have with patterns construction, or the different modification a person might need to do to make the pattern really fit their own body. So that was just a level of thinking about this whole issue that was brought to me in a conversation, like I said, with my co-workers, and I did really appreciate that. So I want to just put it out there. I'm in a relatively straight size body, so I'm able to knit most patterns, which is a privilege, and I do want to support mainly size inclusive patterns. But I did also see a point in empowering people to come up with the modifications they need to make things fit their own bodies. You know, I hope this makes sense. Let me know what you think about the topic. I think it's a very important topic and a very hot topic too in the knitting world. So yeah, I always want to make sure I highlight inclusive patterns, but then again, if it's not inclusive, what can you do to make it fit your own body if you really want to make it? I think it's a great way to think about it. Or do you know other patterns who might look like it? For example, I was thinking to make the margaux top, but then leave out the patterning, and I think it could look really similar to the sabai top. Or I think there is another petite knit pattern that's called the cloud top, which is also really similar, is in like a really straight cut boat neck kind of style, rolled neck kind of thing. So if you have any suggestions for inclusive patterns in that kind of style, also let us know. If anyone wants to make it and they have a bigger size chest than the pattern is graded to, like I said, I do believe pattern designers should strive to be better and more inclusive. But then again, us as knitters, we can try and empower ourselves to make those adjustments to really fit our own really personal and very unique body shapes, to make it fit our bodies in a very like personal way, in like a very unique way. Okay, last up, my last honorable mention is another top. It's the Iris top by Andrea Gaughan, and it's also a sleeveless top. It's a fingering weight top again, 30 stitches, 2.25 or 2.75 millimeter needles, though again that is very personal. Again, you just need to match the gauge, and it's a rib top, which is a crop top, in bold ribbing and neat finishing on the ribbings, which I found to like with this top. So I could see myself making the Iris top, for example, as kind of like a top, like a sleeveless version of this one, though I really enjoy the like mini sleeves. So I don't know, like I said, this is an inclusive pattern with a negative ease and some body shaping as well, which, like I said, reminds me of this one. I really like the details that Andrea's put into the sides of the top, and I really like the pictures. I myself would probably make it a bit longer so it's a bit more wearable in everyday life, but I really like how Andrea puts pictures of her testers into her project page, so you can see how it fits on different kind of body shapes and sizes, and so I can see myself more so realistically know how it would suit me and fit me on my body. Whereas with, for example, designers like Petite Knit, she usually almost just puts it on her body, which is, I would say, a very different body to mine, and so I don't always have like an exact picture of what it'll look like, which is also why I love the projects option, where I could go and then look at someone else's or a lot of people's projects. I think this also has a option for bust darts, which is not something that I need from the ratio of my upper bust to my full bust. That's not such a significant like difference where I was ever considering bust darts before, but I think it's a lovely thing to have for people with a bigger difference between those measurements, that make those patterns just fit a bit more, a bit better. So these were all of my warm weather knits plans and some honorable mentions. As I said, I wanted to mention just 2 sewing plans quickly. These plans might honestly change quite a bit over the next couple of months, since I'm just not really in the sewing mood yet. I really want to make the pinyon pants by Sew Liberated. I bought the pattern immediately when it came out. This will be the most, I'd say, like advanced pants pattern I've made to date. I want to get some really sturdy, more so a bit harder material to make them. I really like the look of them. They look kind of like a work pant, which is a look I really like. I've been trying to find a really great option for that in the stores and haven't really found an option yet. So when I saw this pattern pop up, I really wanted to make it almost immediately. And one of my good friends, Marla from Knit Not Sew, she also really wanted to make it, and so we decided to sew along this pattern someday or sometime this year. It's not particularly a warm weather sewing project because it could honestly be made any time of the year, but I just wanted to mention this for accountability purposes. I really want to make this pattern this year, so I just wanted to put it out there. I've already, like I said, bought the pattern. I don't have a fabric yet, so I need to get on that. With my friend, we really wanted to check out her local fabric shop and get some fabric together. And then the next plan is to make some more pomona pants. I've already got the fabric. It's like an olivey khaki colored linen, I think linen, maybe viscose mix that I got in Berlin again a year ago when I was there for the wedding wool weekend, and I really want to try and make the straight leg view. I've made the wide leg view already and I really like that, but it was such an easy pant to make. It really fits so well. The only thing I would say is that I would really love to have some pant pockets, which this pattern doesn't have integrated into it, and I don't see myself hacking it anytime soon. But those are 2 kinds of pants that I really want to make. I've unfortunately found that 2 of the pants that I made last year have kind of lost their shape, so I'm always finding myself having a bit of a diaper kind of booty look, which I don't appreciate. So I'm not seeing, like, I don't see me wearing them a ton this year again. I need to really find out about more and learn more about fits of hand. I really want to learn more and find out more about sewing pants and how to make them fit your body best. The Archer work pants that I made last year, unfortunately, they are just way too short. Like, they're too short by at least this amount, so I really would like to remake them. But other than that, I have some fabrics in my stash, and I kind of see myself just going with the flow with sewing. Whereas with my knitting, I really appreciate like a good plan, like setting out my plans for the next couple of months, or even making a make 9. I just didn't feel the urge to do that with my sewing. I just see myself making a couple of pants, maybe a few dresses. I want to make a cushion cover and maybe try my hand on a few more small quilting projects. And honestly, that's about it. I've had this idea of quilting a little star and patching it onto one of my favorite sweatshirts for quite some time, like for at least 2 years. So I really would love to make that. But that's kind of my inner like mood board kind of imagination kind of thing of my sewing the next year. I do just think that I'm a bit more of a casual sewist than I am a knitter with my knitting. I just love to be kind of prepared. I have so much, I love the planning aspect of it. And with my sewing, I'm just like, yeah, I know what I like. I know what I want to do. I have some ideas like the cushion cover. I've had the fabric for some time, and I just really need to get on it. I'd love to maybe get a overlock machine, which would actually make my life a lot easier when I'm sewing, maybe for my birthday this year. So we'll just have to wait and see. I hope that you were able to enjoy this episode, some of my plans and ideas, that you took away some interesting informations about some of these summer knits with you. Though we're only getting into spring now, I really feel like this is the time to make the t-shirts, to be able to wear them when it's actually warm here in the northern hemisphere. Let me know if you've made any of the patterns that I've mentioned and what you thought of them. Let me know if you've got any kind of favorite summer yarns that you highly recommend for the rest of the community here. Let's make this comment section a pool of information for everyone else who's already looking forward to some warm weather knitting. And make sure to like this video and give my channel a follow if you want to see and learn more about my making practices. I'm looking forward to episode 45 of my making podcast soon. Like I said, I'm still currently taking it really slow to get my arms back in a good shape. And until I see you again next episode, I hope you're taking care of yourselves and those around you. And I'm wishing you happy knitting. Bye, guys.